Through 19 games this season, the Knicks had allowed the fewest points per game in the NBA at under 106, and no team had scored more than 120 against them in any match. That was until they found themselves matched up with the Bucks in the elimination round of the in-season tournament, who absolutely torched them for 146 in regulation, the most any team has scored against New York since all the way back in 1979. And I think that says a lot about just how versatile and effective this Milwaukee offense is, capable of putting the ball in the basket in a seemingly infinite amount of ways. Of course, it starts with that pick and roll between Dame and Giannis, a simple action that creates so many different options. The first thing you have to worry about is Dame using the screen to step into open space for three, so Randle comes up to the level and closes that space. Then you have to worry about Giannis freeing up on the roll, and to prevent that, Mitchell Robinson's gonna slide down to the paint. But all that does is leave Brook Lopez, one of the game's best corner three-point shooters, on an island as he drops in an easy triple. To make it difficult for teams to bring in extra help, a lot of times they'll set up this pick and roll with an empty corner. So this time when Randle jumps out to the ball, a third defender has to come way over from the weak side just to even make his presence known. And even if they do a good job of mitigating that downhill threat, now the open corner can be used to set up a Giannis isolation, where he's able to create some separation with a bump midi. With about 3 minutes left in the first quarter, Dame and Giannis just spammed the two-man game over and over in very Denver Nuggets-like fashion, and New York had no idea what to do. Again, because of Dame's shooting threat, the big is forced to come out to the three-point line, and Giannis is such a force rolling downhill that he draws early help from both the nail and the weak side corner, before throwing a beautiful no-look dime into the hands of an open shooter. The Knicks went back to that exact same coverage on the next one, 2 on Lillard, and once Giannis gets the ball in the paint, 2 on him, with the same result as he kicks it to the left corner for a warm-up jumper. So on attempt number 3, they decided to switch things up. They're still going to put 2 on Dame on the ball, but instead of letting Giannis catch it in the middle then helping, Hartenstein's going to come up early to take away that pass. Now I'm sure the world's best passers would probably find a way to get the ball to Portis here, but Dame recognizes that Brunson's asleep and instead moves it one pass over to AJ Green for yet another corner 3. Then the Knicks decided to adjust their coverage again, with Randle dropping back instead of coming up to the level, but that proves to be a pretty bad option as well. And on the last possession of the quarter, they went back to it a 5th time, but against a lot more pressure as the screen is set out near half court, with Randle again coming all the way up. The ball gets to Giannis, and it may not seem like a huge advantage at first, but just look at how much space there is between Randle and his first help defender. Giving the freak that much room to operate with is pretty much a death sentence. Because Giannis is such a devastating interior presence, he can effectively run these pick and rolls with quite literally any ball handler the Bucks decide to put next to him. When it's not Dame, it's usually Chris Middleton, whose own threat as a mid-range scorer demands some respect and leaves the Knicks with nobody back to prevent a lob. This one starts away from the ball. Giannis sets a down screen for Middleton to come towards the pass, but he instead stops short, then rejects it to drive baseline. Notice how he draws both of New York's bigs, which means when he floats it up, there's nobody in position to prevent Giannis from following on the offensive glass. He demands attention at all times, which really stood out when he was screening for Cameron Payne. Randle shows no interest at all in picking up the ball, even though Quickly's been taken out of the play entirely, and Payne's easily able to get to the free throw line for a floater, where he gets some help from the rim. And they went back to a real similar setup next time down, this time using that empty corner, so Randle has to at least show to the ball. But as soon as Payne looks towards Giannis, Randle freezes in his tracks, and that again leaves enough space to comfortably float it in. In the same way Giannis' skill set enables him to run ball screen action with anyone, Dame's the exact same way. For him, it's been lots of two-man game with Brook Lopez. Those guys have shown incredible chemistry since day one. Like I keep saying, bigs are forced to come out and defend Lillard in space, and by taking a couple extra dribbles, he's able to completely clear the middle of the floor for Brook. And who's that in the corner ready to cut? Randle has to step in front of the rolling 7-footer, but that leaves Giannis unattended for just a second, and that's all he needs to catch and dunk. Because Dame's lethal in the pick and roll with either of those two bigs, Milwaukee's taken advantage by using these horn setups. With Giannis and Brook both up top, that means New York's backline guys are going to be two smaller players. No secondary rim protection. So as soon as Mitchell Robinson comes to meet Dame, all he has to do is get the ball to Brook, and it's some easy offense down low. Remember how they ended the first by spamming pick and roll between Dame and Giannis? Well, same thing in the second, except instead of Giannis, it was Bobby Portis. On the first one, Randle comes up to the level, but it's a high drop coverage, so as soon as he takes that first step back, Dame pulls the trigger and buries a 3. So next time, instead of dropping back, Randle's gonna actually make an effort to close that space. And to counter, Dame's gonna attack him with a drive, getting all the way to the restricted area where he earns some free throws. Finally, on the last one, they decided to just outright switch. But all that does is leave Dame with a mismatch to attack in isolation, threatening the drive before sidestepping into a 3 that gives the team their 75th point of the first half. That last play highlights something important, and that's the fact that while a large chunk of Dame's offense does come with the use of ball screens, he can still attack in different ways, such as with quick isolations early in possessions. Even at age 33, he's got some real explosive burst, meaning that he's always a threat to blow right by his man in space and get to the rim. After applying that downhill pressure, it's not just his finishing that defenses have to worry about, but also his passing, this time drawing aggressive help from the weak side corner and kicking it out to Beauchamp, who sidesteps into a high-quality jumper. And of course, if his defender even thinks about playing him as more of a driver, he'll use that space to set up his generational outside shooting. What can you even do? In these spots, it's not just Dame you have to worry about though, because he can just as easily kick it ahead to Giannis, who's pretty good at attacking an early offense himself. He touches the paint whenever he wants, especially against a defense that's still trying to get set, and he's currently shooting 79% at the rim, so best of luck to whoever stands in his way. When he's the one who's actually initiating the possession, what the Bucks will usually do is park a big in the middle of the floor so that they can set a back screen to help him get downhill. Just think of it like it's football. That big is playing the role of an offensive lineman so that Giannis, the running back, can find a gap to take it to the house. Another thing you'll notice when Giannis attacks from up top is that defenders like to leave a cushion of space. The goal of playing him like this is that they're hoping he'll settle for jumpers. But that definitely was not the case in this one. He's one of the best in NBA history when it comes to attacking space. The combination of burst, length, and strength is too much to handle. Just look at how many times he could rise for a jumper if he wanted to. First from 3, then from the elbow, but he continues to hunt for that driving lane and ends up creating an easy finger roll. To start the season, the Bucks were frustrating to watch at times because we know how good Giannis is at attacking space, but he continued to pull up for long 2s and 3s. Lately though, he's been cutting those out of his diet. Just look at the amount of 3s he's attempted each season since becoming an All-Star. This is only the second time he's been under 2 attempts a game, attempting nearly 3 less than his second MVP season. And this number just continues to drop, because over their last 6 games, he's only attempted more than 1 3 in a game once, and in that game he shot 1 of 2. This has directly correlated with his overall efficiency as a scorer, currently sitting at 64.3% true shooting, which would be his most efficient season since all the way back in 2019. In other words, less settling, better scoring. Against the Knicks, he did take 1 3 in one of those early offense situations. He was given about 5 feet of space and decided to test the waters, actually knocking it down. And the key to me is that just because he made one doesn't mean he fell in love with the shot, because next time he found himself in that exact same situation, he instead motions Malik Beasley to come get into some ghost screen action, and Beasley's an incredible shooter, so that's a great possession. Milwaukee's done a great job of surrounding Giannis with a ton of shooting, and of course he applies so much pressure to the paint that these shooters get a ton of open looks, and by nature catch more of a rhythm than they would in some different situations. It's not just the shooting though, these guys are really skilled. Someone like Beasley can set up the offense or do some stuff with a live dribble when it's needed, and Brook Lopez is one of the most unique 7-footers you'll find in this league. Not just capable of spacing the floor as a shooter, but attacking closeouts and driving it in close himself. As a result, when Giannis doesn't settle, there's pretty much always an outlet for him to go to, whether that's a quick screening action, moving it over to a shooter early, attacking space himself as a scorer, or he can even set up that two-man game with Lillard. Josh Hart stays attached to his hip to not give up the three, but again, Randle doesn't want to leave Giannis, so there's nobody protecting the middle of the floor from a drive-in floater. Here it is again, this time on a baseline out of bounds play. Giannis gets the ball and sets up for a handoff to Dame, but instead of giving it up, he's going to use that shooting gravity to explode into a drive, and that's just way too easy. Out of bounds plays do a great job of truly capturing the wide range of options that this offense has at their disposal. Dame's gonna inbound it to Middleton in the middle before immediately following his pass as he sprints off of 2 down screens from the bigs. And in just 2 seconds of shot clock, he's fading into 3 points. Or how about this one, when Middleton's the one inbounding, and Dame looks like he's getting ready to come get the ball, but before you know it, a lob pass is flying at the rim, and who else but Giannis to bring it home. Speaking of Chris Middleton, he's the team's number 3 creator, and an incredibly skilled one at that. A wing who can isolate from anywhere on the floor, with or without a live dribble, and makes incredibly difficult shots whenever the offense stagnates or the defense packs the paint. In addition to the scoring talent, he's also a quality passer, meaning that on a play like this where he sets up in the pinch post and Randle thinks about coming over to double, just that brief lapse allows Giannis to catch the ball in the paint, and there's just no stopping that. They can even buy some time with Dame and Giannis on the bench together by running the offense through Middleton. This one starts with a high pick and roll between him and Lopez, and when Randle drops down from the weak side, he's going to kick it over to Bobby Portis, who knocks down the open corner 3. Bobby is just another skilled player who gives the offense some interesting wrinkles. At 6'11", he keeps up the spacing and outside shooting, but he's still a big man, meaning he can attack mismatches or switches with ease, whether that's in the low post or facing up in the mid-range and using his height to access easy offense over the top of wings. Long story short, the Bucks can attack a set defense in so many different ways that it's almost laughable, which is why they're currently generating 1.07 points per possession in the half court, 4th in the NBA. If you've paid any attention to that team's half-court offense over the past few seasons, you know that's a pretty big deal. And it goes without saying that Giannis alone pretty much guarantees a solid transition offense. So the end result gets you to where the Bucks are at right now, currently holding an offensive rating of over 120, 3rd in the NBA, and more than 5 points ahead of the league's average, which isn't just good, but amazing. This scorching hot performance against the Knicks wasn't some isolated incident. As Dame and Giannis continue to grow as a duo, and everything else falls into place like it has been recently, we're talking about a potentially unstoppable offense come playoff time. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of the Bucks. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.